Welcome to the Comedy and Closings podcast, the only real estate podcast hosted by two New York City comedians. What more could you ask for? I'm Josh Carter.
And I'm Warren Holstein.
And today we have a very special guest, one of my favorite people at Brown Harris Stevens. She's the Executive Vice President of Sales in both Park Slope offices in Brooklyn and in Bay Ridge. Please welcome everyone, Camille Logan.
Well, thanks, guys.
The Queen of Kings County.
Well, It's nice to be here, and thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, so we titled the segment "The Queen of Kings County."
Yes.
We figured it's catchy.
Yeah.
You are kind of a queen, and
Yeah.
we're in the County of Kings. We're all Brooklynites,
And
by the way.
you're the
everyone at
reason
table.
we should say because I used to. You said stand-up comedian. I used to do stand-up. I don't do stand-up anymore. I found this. I love this, and you're the reason that we left our former brokerage and we came here, and you're the reason that I chose Brown Harris Stevens. And it probably had something to do with how Brooklyn-centric you are. I mean, I was raised in Sheepshead Bay by my grandmother, Celia Spindell, and my great-aunt.
Sheepshead Bay grandmothers don't raise kids. They train them.
Women from Sheepshead Bay that were business people who were very sweet but also very tough. And I feel like that was a vibe that I got off you, that you're a very human person, but also you like fight for us. And yeah.
That I will. I am born and raised East Williamsburg girl. My real estate has been in my blood. My great-grandmother bought and sold houses back in, I'd say, the 1920s, when women really didn't do anything.
Oh, wow.
Except have babies. And she bought
did that
and sold
too, though.
houses. She did. She had 14 children. Don't.
Oh, my God.
14 kids, that's not a family, that's a management company. That's not just multitasking, that's zoning.
Were you guys her working staff?
Yeah.
14 people, someone better be doing something. What did they do? Did they have like carbon paper then? How do you even?
She would buy and sell houses, and she would tell my great-grandfather when he went to work, oh, by the way, I bought another house, so tonight when you come home from work, you go to this address. And he just did that. And apparently it agreed with him. He lived to be 103.
Oh, my Lord.
So, yeah.
What, did she have a real estate license, or is this something
No,
she was
there were
doing
no
to-
licenses back then.
Oh, wow. That really is the Wild West.
Before the...
This was all neighborhood stuff.
And were you
Before
buying
the Department of State,
was it
yeah.
all in East Williamsburg?
Yeah, it was all East Williamsburg. This was the neighborhood I grew up in. So it was a very familiar and comfortable and place to be. And my family had been there for a couple of generations.
Wow.
So I'm a Brooklyn girl, and when I decided to come into real estate, there was only one place I wanted to be, and that was Brooklyn.
And before you did real estate, what did you do?
I was with Citibank, and I was a vice president and a branch manager, and I managed branches in Tribeca, at Broadway 40th in the center of the Garment District. And then when I decided to leave Citibank, I decided to come into real estate. And I knew Brooklyn was always home. I sound like Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn. And I love Brooklyn. And I always knew, and I'm doing this now 25 years, and I knew that Brooklyn would be what it is today. I could see that from the very start.
What attracted you about real estate? I mean, was it the old like Nana desires?
Aside from the gene pool, I think what I really liked was the people part of it. You know, when I worked for Citibank and I was a branch manager, the most rewarding part of my job was helping my customers, helping them get to another level. And when banking started to change and they wanted to automate everything and they wanted to, everything had to fit in a little box, that was never me. I always color outside the lines, and I always like to kind of do things my way. And so I came into real estate because I could make a difference. I could help people. It's always been a people business.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the most important
You
part
came in
of
with
this.
like a set of lenders. Finance was the easy thing for you to explain. So,
Finance was the easy part.
what did you when you first came in? What were your challenges? Did you focus more on buyers? Did you focus more on sellers?
I focused heavily on sellers. I loved the thrill of the hunt, finding the listing, pitching the listing, getting the listing, and selling it. And I always felt like I've done something so good to help people get to their next level. And I know both of you guys know this because when we sat and talked from the first time we met, my whole philosophy on real estate is what we do is so important. We help people with such a basic human need, shelter, a home. And I think that that part of it is really what keeps me in the business now for 25 years. I love helping people move to the next level. Now, I don't list and sell properties anymore, but you guys are my clients.
Yeah, but I actually, that philosophy is a big reason I chose to come here too. Like, I kind of went into real estate for the same. Actually, we have a very similar origin story, just different time periods.
You know, we should say we're all from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
all
we're
of
all
us are raised in Brooklyn.
We're all from
She's
Brooklyn.
East Williamsburg. I'm Sheepshead Bay.
You know, it's
and,
funny.
You're downtown Brooklyn.
I grew up like basically it's now considered Borum Hill. Growing up, I always thought it was Cobble Hill. It's basically Atlantic Avenue between like Court Street and Borum Place. My grandmother actually owned the block when I was growing up. My grandfather was a developer and he would be a landlord and rent stuff out, but he passed away when I was like very, very young, like before I was even one. So my grandma kind of took over the block, and even like as an 8-year-old sometimes, she'd sometimes have me go to a showing or like...
Yeah, Josh started young. Even back then he was negotiating, only it was for Pokemon and Happy Meals. You know, just talking about this
like
actually,
that.
because I'm just doing stuff where I'm like researching some stuff from my grandparents, and they actually did own a building also in Bay Ridge,
Oh,
oddly
interesting.
enough, and that was part of the inheritance that was squandered, not by me. But yeah, so I mean, we all I guess have real estate. There's real estate in my
I
background.
mean, and
textiles.
getting into real estate though, I learned a lot more about like their history, like with real estate. Like I didn't realize. So there's like this big, very noticeable building in the West Village, and apparently it was the last building my grandfather built. It's 22 Perry. It's like a castle-like red. They have like my uncle still, I think, manage a commercial space, which is like a bodega, a sushi place, and maybe some kind of a health place. But anyway, I have that. I guess I kind of have that background, so it was kind of like in the back of my mind. I went into comedy. Like I realized this wasn't when it got really expensive, but when we just started realizing, oh, people are paying more than like $1,000 a month to be a roommate in like a 2-bedroom. You know, like that time. This is probably like early 2010s or something. I'm like, you know, I need to get into real estate so I could learn how to do this, and I could learn all like the loopholes or how things are done in the business and how prices go up, so that I could protect myself and my friends and all the like my community from getting priced out of New York. You know,
What we do is so important.
Yeah.
And I think when we dot the I's and cross the T's, we're the professionals that put the deal together. So we help the people at whatever stage in their life they're at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new beginning. It's maybe starting a new job in a new city, or it's moving into a bigger apartment. It's starting a family. And sometimes it's the opposite side. It's a divorce. It's a death in the family. And there's a lot of emotion. And those are the things we come and we stand between the seller or the buyer and the situation, and we help the deal to happen. We take care of the business end so people can process what they're going through.
Do you remember, you know, once you started doing, you know, you got out of the bank, do you remember your first listing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my first listing.
Tell us about it. Is it going to be too painful or
No, it was
was
in
it awkward?
Gravesend. It was in Gravesend, and it was a really pretty house, and the owner was so tough.
Was this someone that how did you end up prospecting this person? Was someone you knew?
Well, back in those days, we used to look up for sale by owners in the New York Times.
Oh, wow.
And we'd call people.
Yeah.
And so I got in and I
So
went.
you got your leads delivered to you by the paper boy?
There you go.
For the younger listeners, the New York Times was like Street Easy, but printed.
I got in and I loved the house, and I talked to him, and he wouldn't sign the papers, and he refused to do an exclusive, and I was not working for free. So we talked. We were very friendly. I was very honest about what I thought the house should be priced at, blah, blah, blah. And I left, and about 2 weeks went by, and I was sitting in my office one day, and I saw his car pull up, and he walks into my office, and he walks over to me, and he says, "Okay, you love my house so much, now sell it."
Oh, nice.
And he signed the papers.
That's nice.
And that's I was off and running.
And how long did it take you to...
That one I never sold.
You never sold it? Yeah, that's the world of real estate. Even when it goes right, sometimes it goes wrong. Human beings aren't predictable. Claude Schmall. You didn't know what you were doing,
tell.
probably, right?
No, I knew what I was doing, but
Well, it was your first listing. So what? Why wouldn't it sell? Did he make it? Was he insisting on it too high? What was the deal?
well, he was not negotiable at all. Any deal I brought him, he never took. And then finally, at the end of that, you're like, okay, I can't beat my head against the wall.
Yeah.
And
But you learned a lot.
But
right?
I learned a ton, and I went on to take another listing, which I sold.
Where was that one?
Sunset Park.
Did
Sunset
you, like-
Park.
so
We're in
this-
Sunset Park. I live in Sunset
So
Park.
the second listing, though, you probably reframed the whole approach after the first one. Do you remember?
No, I
anything
was
like
always enthusiastic. I always loved when somebody invited me into their house. To me, it was such a great thing. I would go in there and I would look at the house and I would talk to them honestly about it. And I was enthusiastic about what I did, how I could help them, and I was always anxious to show them what we could do and why we could do it.
Where is it in Sunset Park? I'm curious.
It was on 6th Avenue, and it was
6th and what?
uh,
Because I'm on 40th between 5th and 6th.
yeah, it was-
Sunset Park proper.
yeah,
So one of your neighbors.
46th.
46th Street. All right. So you're right a couple blocks away from the park.
Right. And in fact, the woman still owns the house. Every once in a while, I do look it up and I see this. The woman I sold it to
Oh, wow.
still owns the
Oh,
house.
my God. That house is appreciated a lot, I can tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting sale. And that was my second listing. And then from there, it went on. I tended to be more of a listing agent than, I worked with buyers, but I more or less worked more with sellers. Then I sold. One of my early ones was also on 54th Street. in
Oh, wow.
Sunset
You know
Park.
my neighborhood.
Oh God, yeah, it was one of my favorite.
Yeah, that's what
neighborhoods.
you don't remember when she was bringing us over. She was talking about Sunset Park, how she has all the history.
I love Sunset Park.
We're gonna have to
always-
talk a little more off camera, but we
yeah.
should take one moment. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna be right back. Talk a little bit more about Sunset Park and more of the early days. We'll see you guys soon.
Hi, I'm Dylan Pachulik, CEO of XL Real Property Management, New York's most trusted name in luxury property management since 2012. We specialize in managing individual apartments, townhouses, and rental buildings held by absentee owners. We maintain our properties with the highest standards of quality and service so that owners can choose a hassle-free approach to real estate investing. Rented or owner-occupied, we handle it all. For more information, contact us at xl-rpm.com.
So that I'm just curious as far how things have changed, because the way that you're making it sound with newspapers and everything like that, I don't know, maybe I'm just free associating to journalism stuff. Were people smoking cigarettes and drinking black coffee and eating hot dogs at their
It kind
desks?
of reminds me of Barbara Corcoran's book. Have you read that?
Yes, I've read that book. It was, it was a different time. The first real estate company I worked for, there was not a computer on every desk. There was one computer in the office. And MLS was just online. So when somebody wanted to do comps or do any kind of research on MLS, you had to schedule. So I used to have to make schedules for agents, a half an hour. And as they'd get to that half an hour mark, like, okay, your time's up.
Wow, MLS use by appointment is insane. That doesn't sound like a real estate office. It sounds like parole.
Selling more.
We used to put ads. We used to take ads out there with the Home Finder, the magazines with the pictures of the houses, and then we would take our little prospecting ads. And I remember I took this really nice picture, and I put it in, and I had a really nice snappy message about I could sell your home and blah blah blah. And somebody called me up one day, and they said, "Oh, is this Camille?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, I saw your ad, and I got so excited. I was like, oh, great, this is a listing. And he goes, I'd like to know if I could take you to dinner. And I went, oh.
And that's
And
how
I
she
said,
met her first husband.
No. And I said, thank you so much for that compliment. I said, but my husband doesn't let me date anymore. So,
And that's prospecting in the 90s. Half
Yeah, but if you
leads,
had,
half
like, a
connections.
slope, I mean-
Imagine spending your ad money just for a date at Rolling Roaster.
if he would have let off with,
Yeah, I'm single.
I have a place I'm selling for 10 mil.
but it was such a different time. We would, and we paid for our own ads to go into these.
So
into these-
this was out of pocket.
Out of pocket.
Yeah.
Out of pocket, we did that. We did postcards. We bought them through the online, and it wasn't really online. It was a really tough go.
Yeah.
But we did it. It was how we worked, and it was a different time.
Do you think something's been lost in how everything's been switched over?
In some ways, I think a lot of kind of the fun and more loose way we worked is gone. But on the other hand, things have become much more, it's easier to get more information. You really move into being more of a professional.
It must have been hard to be
And it's
like a
like-
disorganized person without a CRM. Because
I feel like a
Oh,
lot
we
more
did
liability.
CRMs.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
But how were they compared to what we're using now? I mean, can't.
It's probably like a lot more liability protections today, right?
I remember I was managing an office on Atlantic Avenue for my first real estate, and I hired this young woman who was a teacher. And she said, I really don't want to teach anymore. I want to be a real estate agent. I said, okay, fine. So she came in, I gave her a desk, set her all up. So she comes in, she's all excited to work the first day. And I take her in the back, and there's this giant book in the back. And it has names and addresses and phone numbers of every house on every block in Brooklyn.
Oh my God! It's like the
It
yellow
was-
pages
it
for
was
real estate. Yeah,
gigantic.
Yeah.
And this book would be updated like maybe twice a year or 3 times a year. But anyway, so I said to her, what neighborhood you want to work? And she said, well, I think I'm going to work, Borum Hill. Or I said, okay, so this is a section. Now you choose the blocks you want, and these are the names that you have to make a list of, and these are the people you're going to be calling, and this. And she sat there all day, and she worked very diligently at it. And at the end of the day, it must have been 5 o'clock. We were ready to go stroll. We used to be in the office till 9 o'clock at night. 'Cause we would go in and out all day long. So by the end of the day, there would be a bunch of us in the office, and we just kind of decompress and talk about what was going on. But 5 o'clock, she gets up and she says, okay, good night. And we said, okay, good night, see you tomorrow. I never saw her again.
Yeah.
She never came back.
Was she writing a suicide note?
I went back and looked. I was like, what happened there? I guess she decided it wasn't as easy.
It's a
as she
lot of
thought.
paperwork.
Yeah.
It was even
It's.
more
I mean,
paperwork
the back
then.
that, but even now, like,
It was
I'm
labor
good at paperwork
intensive.
now. Like, I've taken that
But
over in the
I
family.
kind of feel like I would like that because it's just simple. It's simple marketing. Everyone's doing the same exact thing, and you just have to be the one who shines through with your charisma when you call the people.
or
right?
your ad.
or
was-
your ad,
it
or,
was-
or whatever.
It was fun, and I always enjoyed doing the listings and doing the open houses and all of that stuff. That was fun, and it was exciting, and I loved that feeling when I'd walk out the door and they signed the listing papers.
Yeah.
I'd walk out and I'd walk a nice safe distance away from, so they couldn't see me from the window. And before I got in my car, I'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
And it was just the excitement of it. I've always loved what I did, and
That's exciting, and closings are nice too.
my closings were
Yeah.
always great, and I was always
cathartic.
grateful.
Yeah.
And I would always make a point of going in and saying to the seller or the buyer, whoever I represented, thank you for the opportunity to work with you.
Totally agree with
And
that. Yeah.
because I think that's so important, because they would always be like, oh, thank you so much for your help. Thank you for... And I say, no, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
That's nicer
to
than
work
just
with
being
you.
like, beat it.
Yeah. No, it was always a nice feeling. And the fact that you walked out with the check was like the cherry on the cake. You were like, yeah, they paid me for this. I love
Yeah.
it. And it was it was a good time, and it always felt good, especially when you got through a very tough deal.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, I had a deal where I had 20 people around the closing table.
20 people at the closing table. That sounds like Thanksgiving with escrow.
So the other brother lived there with his wife and her daughter, and then he passed away, so now they were going to sell the house. Well, the brother that died first happened to have a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women. And so now we had to separate we had to now sell the house. So one brother's wife would get 50%, and then the other 50% was shared among
Did they
them.
all physically have to come though?
They all did.
So is that because he
They all
didn't have
did.
a
There
will?
was a set of twins. There was...
No one wanted to do
There
attorney
was
by
the
proxy.
street guy whose cell phone kept ringing, and he'd say, "No, not yet. Few more minutes. No, not yet. Few more minutes." There were like 20 people around the table. It was amazing, but we got that place sold. And the day it closed, we walked out of the closing. And of course, the attorneys had to walk that guy down to the bank. He had to walk out with a bag of cash. It was like,
Bag of cash? Now that's an old school Brooklyn closing.
and the seller calls me and says, "Oh my God, while we were closing, there was a flood in the house."
Oh my God.
Wow.
So we had to get a plumber and we had to get the house cleaned out. But it worked out fine.
Oh wow.
It worked out fine.
Yeah.
But those were the things we dealt with. And boy, you learn how to think on your feet and how to figure it out and
Well, that's what it is.
how to get things done.
I say, you know, it's really Siddhartha. You know, it's really you just have to go with the river. Because if you try to fight it or hold on to something, it doesn't. You need to be able to just be malleable. I mean, I wish I could translate it to my
It's
to my wife and
basically-
kid. But
First lessons I learned, you can't make a bad deal good. And I always have a rule, and I still say it to you guys. When a deal dies, you're allowed to mourn it for 20 minutes, and then you move on.
20 minutes, Josh.
20 minutes tops. And for me, that was go outside, smoke a cigarette, carry on for a few minutes about this, this went wrong, that went wrong, and then move on. And we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's how that works. If you're resilient, if
Yeah.
you can, and you guys have the tools. And I will say, when I met you, because I met Josh first, I saw something. I saw a kindred spirit. I saw somebody who was able to roll with it. And I said, you know what? That's the kind of person I want, because it's not all easy. It's a great business. It's a people business. People are some of the best people you'll ever deal with, and some of the worst.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you can roll with it and you can deal with it,
And sometimes the best people need the most help.
thank you.
That's like I've had
Yeah.
that too, where I'm like, you know, I'm like, oh, these knuckleheads, they're driving me crazy, but they're so nice, you know. And then sometimes like it doesn't, and then you have people that like you know get everything, but they're just miserable people, and it's easier, but it's like, oh God. You
But you
know,
know what's
but you
great?
feel so great.
And it's bad if they're really nice and they don't realize how difficult they're being. And it's like, should I tell them like how upset they're making the other side, or should I kind of just keep them and let them be happy throughout this deal? You know.
Well, I used to sit them down and say, you know, we
Yeah.
have our little, you know, our sort of come to Jesus
It's
moment.
part of the
Where
finessing.
we'd say, okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And, you know, we would talk about it. And, you know, you are the real estate professional, you're part bartender, priest, confessor, whatever. And people will tell you things that they wouldn't tell their own family. It's such an amazing business.
Yeah, I mean, I've like recently, it was right before closing, and they're like, well, this just kind of feels weird that we're not going to be talking anymore. It's kind of sad. And I was like, we could talk.
We could talk.
I mean, initially they were supposed to move to my neighborhood, and I was like, I'm going to hang out with these guys.
Okay.
But I'm just like, you know, they're a little further out. But I was like, oh, you could call me, we could talk.
What is the other thing I tell you guys? Don't be the best one-night stand in real estate.
Yeah.
You keep in touch.
Well, Josh, you don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's a problem. I do have a problem
I
with
love
it.
that.
Yeah, the VIP team is not just a one-night stand. We'll cuddle, buy you breakfast, and take you to a matinee. Metaphorically, I mean.
Okay, I had a hideous house that I sold back in the day. It was on the worst block in Bed-Stuy. Now, remember, we're talking back 25 years ago.
Before the cafes and
Before any
the
of that.
dog groomers.
It was, and the owner's father lived there. He was a hoarder. The owner was doing a ridiculous renovation in the bottom, which made absolutely no sense. So I got the listing, and I showed it and showed it and showed it and sold it to an investor. And then we found out during the course of due diligence that it was actually listed as a two-family, but it was really an SRO. So that was a whole nother set of complications.
Oh, boy.
And so we sold the house, and I sold that house 3 times because the first closing, the first investor who bought it sent in a straw buyer. This wasn't who we sold the house to. And the way he had set up the paperwork was going to cost my seller extra money. He was going to be paying more in taxes. So I got up and I stopped the closing. I said, sorry, hold on. And I took the seller's attorney out in the hall and said, no, this can't work. And he was like, no, we're adjourning the closing. So we adjourned it. Second time, the investor's attorney didn't show up. The third time was the charm. They showed up, we closed, everybody walked away, it was fine. About a year later,
A flood.
I'm in my car, and I was driving. I'll never forget, it was summer. It was hot as hell. And I was driving, and phone rings, and it's the seller. And I still kept him in my phone. I think he's still in my phone. And I said, "Hi, how are you?" And he was like, "Camille, I need your help. My wife's aunt is going into assisted living." He said, "We have to sell her house." He said, "They told my wife there's only one person who could sell it, and that's you." Turned out to be a brownstone in Prospect Heights, which was my first $1 million sale.
Wow, sweet. And you didn't even have to like date anybody. So,
I don't have to date anybody. I don't have to do anything.
all right, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll see you guys soon.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
All right, and we're back with Camille Logan from Brown Harris Stevens. Our Camille, our 167th Avenue Camille. And me and Josh talked about, I think we got into why we came, how you charmed us, and BHS charmed us. I mean, just the humanity of it, and how it kind of put people over transactions. That's like kind of, I'm not just quoting my bio on my website, but it's in there. But I'm just curious, what made you, because you've been in real estate for 25 years. What made you, what was special about it that made you come here?
This is now my 12th year with Brown Harris Stevens. And I came for one very simple reason. I felt like I could really make a difference here. And I feel like my voice is heard.
And how's that different from where you were before?
Well, I was in another big brokerage.
We won't name names.
And sometimes your voice gets drowned out.
Camille's voice should never get drowned out. If anything, it should get zoned commercial. Must have been a very
But
big...
there were a lot of loud voices. And the focus, and I always felt Brooklyn was so important. And so I came here because I felt, A, they noticed Brooklyn, they understood Brooklyn, and they understood me. And I could make a difference. Because the way I see my job is I don't have sellers and buyers anymore as my customers. My agents are my customers. So, and I'm here to support you, to help you grow, to help you sort things out, to make sure you have the tools that you need and the things that you need to succeed, to get to your next level, whatever that next level is and however long it takes. So for me, I'm playing a long game. And I like doing that because, to me, I watch my agents grow, and I watch you be able to take on more and more. I never hesitate to become part of a deal, to come in to talk to any seller, buyer, attorney. I've been hung up on by some of the biggest attorneys, and I call them back and say, "Oh, I think we got disconnected." And I'll untangle a deal.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've had to utilize you in that way, but I would.
And you can.
It's like calling mom in.
And I think it's important. Well, sometimes you need your manager to step in.
Yeah.
And to say, and I believe that's a very important part of my job. And what I love to do is to watch agents grow. I interviewed a young woman who was a dress designer, and she just had something. As I interviewed her, she just had something. And what she was doing, she was a dress designer by trade, but she was also doing lease-ups for some developers. And she wanted to get into sales, so I hired her.
This is at Brown Harris.
At Brown Harris. And she was doing some rentals, and she started to get to know people in the office. And she and I spent a lot of nights sitting in the office, talking strategy, talking, try this, what about this? She was learning, she was doing. And she started to really, really gel with the office. And then they started asking her, "Will you help me to do this open house or share a listing with me?" Then she started to get listings. And she always had a flair for boutique new development. She
Awesome.
always wanted to do that. And so she had kept in touch with her developer friends. She found them a couple of pieces of property, and she sold it to them, and they converted it, and she sold out 2 boutique condo developments.
Nice.
And I am so proud of her. And I watched her grow. I just watched her bloom. And it's not just a straight shot to the top. It's a stop-start. And it's a peaks and valleys. And the days we celebrated together and the days she came in and said, oh, I don't know if I could do this anymore. And it was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's breathe and let's talk about it. Because I knew she had what it takes. And when I look at you guys, I know you guys have what it takes. From the first time I met Josh and then when I met you, and I knew you belonged here.
She's making me blush.
Yeah, I was like, is Josh going to cry?
Because you make a difference, and we could help you make that difference.
It feels a natural fit because we're just it's just the Brooklyn attitude, I think.
And we have some fun too.
We have fun. I feel
love
like
that.
you're a blunt person, but you're a warm person, but you're a blunt person. And I feel like that's like, for me, when I'm talking to clients, I think that's the charm for me also is, I'm someone who's going to cut through I think we could say crap. I'm not going to say the other 4-letter word, but I cut through it. That's like that,
You could say the malarkey. That's
the
what my
malarkey.
football coach used to say.
way.
I've always felt like
Not just your football coach.
the best way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And so I tell you the truth. And I won't beat you over the head with it, but I will tell you the truth. And then we'll work with what we have. And I think that's the most important part. And that's why I love what I do. And that's why I stay doing what I do.
What are some things that yes, you're great at what you do.
Well, thank you.
I'm ready to sign again.
Oh, good.
I always feel like you're recruiting.
Me much.
I always feel like you're recruiting. I sometimes do.
I feel like
and I'm like, is she recruiting us again? We're
This
already here.
episode might bring in an extra 50 agents.
But what are the things that that, and you've not just managed here, you've managed at other places too. What's some of the small things that really just drive you crazy? That agents out there can correct, or small things that they they come up again and again, both with newer people and more experienced people, but they forget it.
I think when people forget how to listen, if you come to me and you ask me for advice, I'm going to give you honest advice. Walk out, don't do it, and then come back to me and ask me why it didn't work. I'll be, well, did you do that? No. How does this work then? I told you I think you should do this, this, and this, but you did that, that, and that. And you expected to get a different result. So that kind of drives me crazy.
Yeah.
To me, the best part of my day is when I sit down and talk one-on-one with my agents. I find out what's on your mind. And we go through personal, business, all of it. You guys have been through my ups and downs. And I think we grow together. And I think we grow closer when we know each other and we feel for each other. And we do understand what somebody is going through or going into or dealing with. And I think that's what I love about real estate. It's so personal.
Mm-hmm.
And communication is so important. And I tell people all the time, there's no such thing as a stupid question. The only stupid question is the one you won't ask.
There are some stupid questions. How much are these free samples? What's the number for 911? When she says we should talk, that's a good thing, right?
Well, that's all part of it. But think about how you
stupid
help
questions
that
are an
person.
opportunity, I think, because
Absolutely.
it helps you just establish yourself as the go-to.
Yes.
And you open
Every
the
time
door to
every time someone
opportunities.
asks something, you're reaffirming, your value as an agent.
You tell me what drives me crazy? People who don't have ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very important to me.
Well, that's where we line
Yeah.
up. I think.
I think Brown Harris
Yeah.
Stevens excels in having the most ethical, well-trained professional agents.
I do think so, and I think also even watching Beth speak at Inman, I'm very impressed.
And I will,
because ethics are a big part of the culture here for sure.
I will call other managers at other real estates and say, "What is your agent thinking? Did you know they said this or that?" Not to tattle, but to let them know, because ethics are such an important thing. It's the base. It's the baseline. It's what you build on.
This is where that Catholic upbringing comes in
There
for
you go. It's that baseline. Tell the truth. Be ethical. Be fair. You know, I don't like people who lie. I don't like people who hide things. I don't like agents who act unethical.
And there's enough
Yeah.
to worry about. I don't want to.
And why lie?
Yeah.
We're independent contractors. I've never understood
As my mother
that.
always said, a lie has very short legs.
Yeah.
You will always get caught in a lie. I will always tell you the truth because I don't want to remember what I said. If I told you one thing and you another thing, I can't remember everything I said. So you know what? If I tell you the truth, it's the same story.
My son's 9. He rats himself out all the time.
I
Tells us
love
everything about it he does. He does that. We were at camp. He was like the Y camp, and he came in. And he was like, He was telling us the stuff, and his counselor's like, you don't have to tell. We weren't going to say anything, but that's why like when something happens at school, I just say my kid doesn't lie. Like he'll rat himself. He tells me everything bad he does every day.
That's because he doesn't hit him.
You know what? It's
no.
I shouldn't say that.
I don't.
It's
No,
important.
don't. What do you mean you shouldn't say that I don't hit my kid?
No, I was just making a joke about it.
It's important that
Some people do. I know.
I mean, I grew up with, no matter what, I always told the truth because I just wasn't a liar by nature. So I like, and that's the one thing I tell my agents, we could fix anything. If you made a mistake, we could fix it. The nice part is this is not medicine. We don't kill the patient. We could fix a mistake. And if we made a mistake badly enough and it costs us money, okay, well, we'll deal with that. But you know what? If you tell me the truth, I can help you. If you don't tell me the truth, I can't help you. And then I no longer want to help you because then I don't trust you.
Yeah.
And so this has to be a trust relationship. I trust you to go out there and to bring in business and to be the strong professional, the well-trained, well-spoken representative of who we are. And you need to go out there and do that. And that's your job. And my job is to support you.
Yeah, I feel like people who like, I feel like I kind of feel that like on just a team lead level, like if I'm trying to recruit people, ethics is a huge thing. One thing I've noticed, people who want to just jump into real estate to make money and have a job, usually it's hard, like you get a lot more unethical people that way. But if they have like a separate reason, like how, like I wanted to help my community, you kind of want to help your friends, like if you have like a real like heart reason, I feel
It's
like
also just one of those wacky things that was different
Yeah.
from comedy too. Like you think you're just going to start comedy, and then you're going to be like headlining, like
Yeah.
you know, like you don't
it
just
takes
you
like
don't
some
just start.
Everyone
Yeah,
has
season, you have to
jobs in
season
the world.
yourself.
It's a different thing, but it's not much different. You have to go through the trenches for either of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I think anything worthwhile, you have to be willing to work for.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to understand the hard parts. Because when you understand the hard parts, you make it easy for the people you work with. And to me, I never stop learning. And I've been very lucky to be surrounded by people who are knowledgeable, who are helpful. I've always been able to, I've had some great mentors myself and people that I will call. So when somebody comes in and really stumps me, I'll say, hold that thought. And I know who to pick up the phone and say, what do you think about this? And we kind of talk it through and think it through because I don't know every answer. And sometimes we all need some assistance. That's what I love, the depth of the professionalism and the knowledge that's here. The people who do know.
Yeah, let's take a quick break. We'll get a quick word from our sponsors, who
Yes.
we love.
Yes.
And we'll be back pretty soon.
Yeah.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
We are back at Comedy and Closings and with Camille Logan and Warren Holstein and Josh Carter. So Camille, I want one thing before we wrap up here. Let's talk about like the evolution of Brooklyn. Like we all been in Brooklyn for decades. Let's hear your take on like what are like things that you miss? Like are there any like old school like restaurants and businesses that have gone out of business since that you really miss?
There's
This is
still
kind
a
of fun
few
questions.
things around that are still around. My old neighborhood, East Williamsburg, has changed so much.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew that was happening when the first time I showed up in my old neighborhood and I saw the organic food store. And I said, oh, the change has begun.
Yeah.
And you could see how
Did the dogs
neighborhood
get
changed.
smaller?
The dogs got
A lot more
smaller,
sweaters.
the buildings got bigger.
Yeah.
And that's how you measure appreciation in Brooklyn.
It's beautiful to see Brooklyn evolve the way it is. And I think we still do have our little pockets of things that remind me of how I grew up. You go down Court Street, there's the butcher, there's the bread store, there's the pastry store. Different stores for different specialties. I like those. I also love the coffee places and all the stuff that comes up, the little boutiques. I think that's great. I think the mix of the two
Yeah.
is so powerful.
It's nice when you have a neighbor. I mean, I feel like East Williamsburg definitely has that. That's what I like about Sunset Park too. Is you have a mix of Industry City coming in, but then you have there's
all
a
those
lot
mom
of
and
different
pops.
cultures. You have the little Chinatown up there. You have
Mexico.
a lot of
Mexican.
Mexican food there, and there's all
And
this
Dominican, really.
and Dominican.
when
So
you
much there.
weave it
Yeah.
all together, Brooklyn is such a vibrant place, and to me, they're all emerging neighborhoods. They're all neighborhoods that are on the rise. Even neighborhoods that, 25 years ago, people, who were in Park Slope and Brooklyn Heights, if you said the words Marine Park or Sheepshead Bay, they go, what?
That's where I'm from. Sheepshead Bay.
What?
Yeah.
And
Do you think those are coming up too?
let me tell you, there's a lot of development going on. The house prices in Marine Park are way up. Flatbush is on
Yeah,
fire.
Flatbush is
I know.
definitely yeah.
When you
Yeah.
look at these neighborhoods, and when I first started, Marine Park, Flatbush, all just little blue collar neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Houses that
Because you get a house, you get a driveway, you can have a
realty
car.
houses
Yeah,
that
yeah.
were like
yeah.
15 by 30.
Yeah.
And they were tiny little houses. But you know what? All of these things, and you see how prices go up, how the neighborhoods change, how everything starts to get better. And that's what this is all about. I always thought Brooklyn was a destination by itself. I never felt we were sloppy seconds to Manhattan.
That's how
No.
I felt growing
And I
up, too.
always felt like
I think it
Now-
excels Manhattan now.
It's
now
better.
it does.
Because you have
People
all the
come.
city stuff that you have in Manhattan. You have the proximity in a lot of neighborhoods to Manhattan, and then all the restaurateurs and everyone have moved here because it's too expensive to do anything in New York. You know,
it's just I think Brooklyn is still the best place to be and still the place I want to be.
still very
And
loud. It's loud.
I love that.
You like
I love
loud?
loud.
Well, it depends
You
where,
like
where-
loud?
it depends
Loud is
where
good.
it depends where in Brooklyn you're at.
Yeah, I guess
so.
it depends.
Loud is good.
Yeah.
And I just think that watching the neighborhoods
Festive.
evolve and watching all of this, I love seeing it. It's so gratifying. It's at a point where I think there's so much more good stuff ahead.
What are some neighborhoods that you like that have really surprised you, just as far as how much they've changed?
Okay, the first time I brought in a listing and said, I have a listing in Vinegar Hill, people in my office looked at me and said, where's Vinegar Hill? Now,
Is it by Olive Oil Hill?
right?
And now Olive Oil Hill is one of Brooklyn's most expensive zip
Yeah.
codes.
And look at how these neighborhoods have changed. These neighborhoods were warehouses.
Yeah.
And Vinegar Hill had 16 original townhouses. And I sold the one with the structural damage, and it was a good sale. But basically, all of these neighborhoods have changed and evolved, and now they are thriving neighborhoods. I remember when Belltel was the Bell Telephone Company, and now look at it.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of evolution, and I think there's a lot of good things to come. We keep growing. We keep bringing in more, better, smarter people, and we're growing our own crop of great Brooklyn people with a love for the borough. Just
What do
like
you
we have.
What do you miss that's gone?
Sometimes I miss the sort of the old culture of like when I grew up and we'd be sitting outside in the summer on the stoop.
Yeah.
We'd
You know,
hang
my
out on
grandma,
the
we used to
stoop.
sit outside and then we would,
when
each person would pick a color car. And then that's how you would, like, you compete on that on the porch. And we had awnings that you like, not like where you pressed a button where you had to like,
You had
like
the
do one of those
things,
things.
yeah. No, we used to
Yeah.
sit on the stoop, and then as I became a teenager, you'd wait for the boy you liked to pass by on the bike just so you could wave. It was a very innocent time. It was. Sometimes I look back and I love that because I think all of those things created who I am, and I've always led with my heart, and I've always done what I love, which is why I never feel like I'm working. I'm just doing what I love. and I love doing this. And as long as I love doing this, I'll be here.
Yeah. That's awesome. You know, I also think it's kind of funny, like the evolution of like these new like nicknames and new marketing names for neighborhoods. Like there wasn't like a Prospect Lefferts Garden back in the day. That was just part of Flatbush. My aunt grew up, when I was growing up, my aunt lived there.
Well, what's now Carroll Gardens used to be very simply Red Hook.
Oh yeah, or Greenwood Heights.
Yeah,
which
that
is
was
just a place across from a cemetery, which is a great cemetery.
Wait, was Greenwood Heights Sunset Park or Park Slope?
It was just kind of the Park Slope just went up to Sunset Park. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like,
South
and then all of a
Slope,
sudden-
and then it became its own thing.
All
Yeah,
of a sudden it became Greenwood Heights.
and it's crazy what's going on. It's
And-
beautiful. My son goes to school in Greenwood
And then
Heights.
the battle was, where does the South Slope end?
Exactly.
Greenwood Heights begin.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is it Prospect Avenue? Is it the so?
And Greenwood Heights is beautiful. You wouldn't think like when I was growing up, you saw Poltergeist and you're like, it was built on a cemetery and it was like this like terrible thing. And I'm just like, I would kill to like have a townhouse in Greenwood Heights. It's beautiful and they're really pricey. They're gorgeous on the inside. What they're doing with those houses, and it's across from the person that designed Greenwood Heights is the person that designed Prospect Park and Central Park. It's a beautiful place to walk around during COVID. It was like, wow, this is amazing. We have a place we could just be more than 6 feet apart and breathe, you know. And who would have thought about that? Yeah.
And Greenwood Cemetery is one of the most beautiful.
Beautiful.
places.
They used to
And one of
picnic
the
there
most
back in the day.
historic
Not anymore.
Places.
Now don't do that.
And it's such an interesting place. You can also bury your secrets there.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's another
now it's
thing
getting
I'll tell
creepy.
you about.
They have those like old, like with the big doors and stuff like that,
The
where you think,
mausoleums
yeah,
and
where
the-
you think like when it's like when it's
and the
the
caverns
end of days, they're just going to open up and like come out.
It really is a fascinating place, and it's a beautiful place. It's huge.
It's gorgeous. I mean, I
I
spent so
just-
much time there during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Brooklyn has come into its own in so many ways, and I think we are now like a premier.
I mean, that's why we picked here is I and there are parts I still work in Manhattan, but there are parts of Manhattan that I like. But Brooklyn overall for me, especially when you have family,
Brooklyn's home.
It's home, but it's also just I find it preferable. I think that there are things here that you have that aren't in Manhattan, and whatever is in Manhattan is here. So I feel like you have both, and it's
the best
a
of
little
both worlds.
prettier, and there's more stuff to do.
I like both. I work both Brooklyn and Manhattan. I like to do them both at the same time because it just is a good way to constantly compare. And I kind of really love the feeling of like opening someone up to like a new area that they weren't considering, and now their money just goes so much further. Although nowadays it's not really as much as it used to be.
Yeah, it
like in
depends,
Brooklyn,
yeah.
depending on where you're at. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Like it really depends on the personality and vibe of.
I mean, that's the
yeah.
crazy thing about I think what we do is you could start somewhere with one person, and then you could end up like, I think we started looking at Manhattan, and then he was really into Brooklyn, and then we ended up in Long Island City at an electrical factory that was converted into
Happens.
condominiums. Yeah,
And
beautiful.
I feel
14
like
foot
all the
ceiling, too.
hippest people want Brooklyn, though,
But
and the
when
people
you
who
know-
want community.
When you
yeah.
know your neighborhoods and you know where you work and you understand, you can so help people make that choice because they
Yeah.
read all of this stuff, and I'd like to. What about? But when you can sort of break it down and you can talk about the neighborhoods because you know them because you're here, it makes a big difference, and I think that helps make you even more successful. But I think Brooklyn is the most amazing place, and I love what's going on in Brooklyn. And I think we're just going to continue doing it.
Yeah, well, that's good because you're managing 3 offices here.
Well, thanks.
If you hated Brooklyn, it would be
No, I love Brooklyn.
Well, thanks so much for joining us
Well, you're welcome.
for this great edition of Comedy and Closings.
Thank
I'm
you for
Josh
having
Carter.
me.
I'm Warren Holstein.
And this has been Camille Logan. Thank you, guys, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you next time.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.